Someday I've gone out and I've got the fluff and I've got the peanut butter and I've got the Nutella and I'm trying so hard to get to my punishment video. I'm not quite there yet. So Jay, today we're talking about putting a lot of effort and work and trying really hard to do something, but then asking whether or not you've really succeeded if you didn't actually succeed. And Jay, I think it's a great question, and it kind of applies to me a lot here lately with my job. Basically, the big aquarium system that I recently took over is a totally and completely 100% custom job, meaning that there is no manual for it. There are no blog posts or frequently asked questions or forum discussions or Pinterest ideas on how to make it easier. It is just custom and you have to figure it out on your own. It is the only one like it. I know how all of the individual components work and I know how they're all supposed to work as a whole, but all I can do is try to use that information to make sure that I'm achieving the desired outcome. And the people who design the system are great people and they're always willing to help. The problem is they're all the way in Florida, so they're not always able to help. So Jay, like you, I have a to-do list every single day, and the only way that I can sleep at night is knowing that I went through that entire to-do list and I did everything in my power that I could do to achieve the success of the aquarium system. And even if I do everything on that list, there's still no guarantee that everything is just going to succeed. So I guess I'm kind of torn when it comes to answering your question, because yes, I agree, not succeeding is not succeeding. But if I genuinely feel like I did everything in my power to succeed and I didn't, then I can still live with myself. But yeah, I think that was a great question. I think it's one of the things that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. Having my own business is just kind of like, at the end of the day, I am the person who is ultimately responsible for what we put out that day. But one of the great things about being your own boss is that I also didn't have to interview to get the job. Now Jay, when I was moving towards graduating college, I started interviewing with a bunch of different companies because I wanted to keep my options open. Or so that if I decided to do the fish thing, that it would be because I wanted to and not because it was my only and last resort. Regardless, I was flat out terrible at job interviews. After a few, it became very clear to me that there is actually strategy to interviews, and there is nothing wrong with having preloaded responses to predictable questions. But the one that has been eating at me for years, and I have never really been able to fully pinpoint my actual response to the question, is what is your greatest weakness? And that is a tricky question because you have to reveal a personal shortfall that isn't such an epic hindrance to yourself that you're still hireable. And of course there is the default I get too into my work response. But come on, let's be real. This is a job interview and not a first date, and that is not a work weakness at all. I've toiled with this question for years and I've probably come up with more responses than I'm even willing to admit. But we're still not limited to... If the subject matter isn't something I'm going to be interested in, I virtually cannot be motivated. I'm not a great follower. Here's the thing. My fear of not following a format correctly could outweigh the content. Seriously, would you hire me? I'm not even done. I don't like being disagreed with. Mental blocks can cripple me. And finally, this one shouldn't be forgotten. I take things very personally. So yeah, go ahead and ask me about my strengths. I'm great at identifying my own weaknesses. Then of course they have to ask if I'm good at correcting those identified weaknesses, which I'm not. Seriously, who would hire me? But believe it or not, I'm actually moving towards a positive point here. Basically, there are weaknesses like, yeah, I can't ever make it to work on time, and that's just basically unacceptable. That is a weakness that can be fixed. You just make yourself wake up. But then there are personality things that you just can't necessarily fix. They are just part of who you are. For example, I can recognize that I take things too personally, but that doesn't mean when somebody criticizes my work that my pulse isn't going to go through the roof. But here's the point. The reason why I take things so personally is because I view my work as an extension of myself, and I want that to be something great. Now, maybe all the interviewer wants is to see if you can think on your feet, or maybe come up with a clever or good response. But you know what? I didn't have to interview for my job, and I'm still constantly searching for my own weaknesses, because weaknesses can always have a flip side. Maybe in some situations that flip side is a strength, maybe sometimes it's not, maybe it's just learning more about yourself or learning your own limits. If nothing else, it's going to help you to better find a lifestyle that's going to actually work for you. And I'd like to try something a little bit different today. In the towel section down below, leave a weakness of yours, and then go read through the other comments that other people leave and try to help help those people find the flip side to their weakness. And of course, the objective here is entirely to be supportive, so if you don't have something positive to say, then maybe just keep it to yourself. But I do think this could spark some really cool discussion. I'm really excited to see what you guys say and how you can maybe help someone else identify certain things about themselves. Jay, that's everything that I've got for you today, man. I will see you on Tuesday.